Hello again, everybody. This is Derek, and I'm coming back at you with another wargaming and miniature video. And in today's video, we're going to continue on with my American War of Independence project update. All right, in this most recent update, I went ahead and finished up a couple of British units. And the one you see on the screen here is the 21st Foot. These guys are in like round hats that are of the one side cocked up, and then you got your blue facings. There's 3 stands. The lights and the grenadiers would have been converged into other regiments. This is a unit towards my Freeman's Farm collection. And I'm almost finished with all the British for the Freeman's Farm. These are based on 40 by 30s. As you can see, the back of the base is in the facing color so that you can keep track of your different units. If they had similar attire, you could tell the difference based on the back of the way the base is painted. I try to match facings, but sometimes that doesn't. Sometimes I don't do it that way. These guys have the Vallejo earth tone and the Warlord static grass, the 2mm static grass. These guys were fairly easy to paint. These guys are Blue Moon. There's one figure here, the sapper. He's actually a Peter Pig figure, but the rest are all Blue Moon. And this came out of a Blue Moon with the round hats or whatever, but they have that one side cocked up. All right, so let me bring out the next regiment. All right, this next regiment are the British Light Infantry. You'll notice that these guys are converged light infantry, so each stand has a different facing color. I recently received the Saratoga book from Osprey. And in the Saratoga book, it actually was able to provide me with unit strengths and force compositions and stuff like that for the campaign, the Canada campaign and the Saratoga campaign, etc. And primarily for the Saratoga campaign. And it references the light battalion regiment having been formed from the other regiments in the brigade. There should be about 500 men in this battalion, and most of the battalions that I put together are 3 stands, which represent about 300 to 400 men. My scale in the game is approximately 20 men per figure. Approximately, that's what I'm aiming for. So that would make one of these stands to be about 120 men. And if there are 500 men, I probably should make this regiment a large regiment. I should add 2 more bases. And that's what I was struggling with after I completed them, is when I noticed that the scenarios that I was basing this off of they shortchanged them, right? They didn't give them their full allotment. But I also noticed these other scenarios provide two stands of pickets. And those two stands of pickets, which I was planning on doing with a mixture of light infantry and Indians, would probably be the full-size unit that they represent on paper. So, so I still have two more stands of light infantry to do, in which I'm probably going to include Indians, and I'm going to use them as skirmishing pickets. Those stands, I think what I'm going to do is make, because in Land of the Free, because that's the game system we're going with, in Land of the Free, you represent a line, a battle line, with your figures all side by side, right? With your command stand in the middle. And you'll notice the lights don't have any flag, but there is one guy right there with a sash, and he's standing in a different pose and stuff. So I was going to make this my command stand. This is a standard battalion. This is a small battalion, and this would be a tiny battalion. And any tiny unit is always considered skirmishing. Now, when you have a line battalion or a battalion, and it wants to represent that it's in open order, i.e. skirmishing, you can separate the bases by up to one base. So what I'm planning on doing is making a single base this big. So instead of, let's use my ruler here. So this is the battle line, right? 40 millimeter bases. And I could technically have these guys 40 millimeters apart. That would be a skirmish line if I wanted, but it can be less. You could do something like this if you are limited in space, or you're not trying to cover as much area or whatever. It's just that they're not touching, they're separated. So I was thinking I could do a base, a single base that's 60 millimeters by 30 deep, or I could even go as far as 80 millimeters for a single skirmishing base to give it that extra area that they would occupy. But I think 60 millimeters might be the perfect, like a 60 by 30, I think might be the perfect single stand unit of skirmishers, those Indians and lights that I plan to make. So that's what I'm planning on doing with those lights. I'm going to put them on a slightly larger base to represent that they're spread out in skirmishing. All right, and that will actually complete my British. They will be 100% finished. I will have all the guns, all the limbers, all the generals, and all the units completed once I get these two skirmish bases done. Now, on the other hand, I was thinking I could just do the two light, just do 12 figures of light infantry and just set them out if I need them to represent those skirmishers. And then when they do reconverge, they won't be like an odd shaped base. So that's another thing I might do. And then that way I can have a large light battalion if I need it. Okay. Other than that, I think the British are coming along really nicely. I do have some. My British artillery is set up with 6-pounders and 12-pounders and howitzers and 3-pounders. Got a variety of different guns, but to be accurate to the scenario, I need to swap out the 12-pounders with 6-pounders. I was using them as a proxy because those are the ones that I had. Old Glory had provided me some 12-pounders, and I needed some 6-pounders, right? So I have a couple of 6-pounders, but I need about 2 more of them. So I got some 6-pounders from Blue Moon, and while I did that, I also ordered some artillerists so that I could, crew them. And I made sure that I got the Saratoga uniform because Burgoyne had changed the British uniforms slightly to be able to fight in the wilderness in America. So they have like these, their hats are cut down and their coats are cut down. So so the artillerists are going to be, I'm going to put together a couple of guns sometime in the future. There's no need to do it right away because I do have those 12-pounders I can proxy. And we'll just call them 6-pounders. That's not going to be a problem. I've got all the Hessians are finished. Now, this is also going to be another issue that I have. All the scenarios have the Hessians as just regular sized units, like regular regimental sized units, except for Rittisel's battalion, which is large. But then when I look at the Saratoga book and the manpower, it shows that each battalion had 512 men in it. And if all 3 battalions had 512, then they all should be large, right? And if that's the case, I need to do 4 more bases of Hessians. And in this case, I have the musketeers to do it. So, the figures to do it. But I'm not in a rush to do it. That's just for the there's also been a debate in the book as well that even though their numbers on paper were 512, not all 512 were present at the battle because of illness or sicknesses or injuries or wounds or something like that from previous battles. So there might have only been Rittisel's battalion might have only been the one that was large. But just for continuity, I think I want to fill those battalions up just to make them full strength, even though they're probably not going to be full strength when they get deployed on the table. Okay, so long story short, the British, I have two bases to do, and that's the pickets. I have 2 one-base pickets that I will be doing sometime in the near future. But in the meantime, I've started work on my Continentals because I noticed I only have 5 more units of Continentals that need to be completed. I have the 2nd and the 3rd New Hampshire and the 2nd Connecticut Militia out of Poor's Brigade, and yeah, I guess it's Pores Brigade. So those are the ones I'm working on right now. The 2nd and 3rd New Hampshire and the 2nd Connecticut Militia. So that'll finish off Pores Brigade. And then Learned has a Massachusetts battalion. I think it's the 2nd and the 1st Canadian. So once I do the 1st Canadian and the 2nd Massachusetts and the 3 battalions that I'm working on now, the Allies will be 100% completely finished. Because I have Morgan's Rifles, I have Dearborn's Lights, I have the 1st New Hampshire already done, I have the 1st Connecticut Militia already done, and I've got a couple of the New York battalions finished, and I have a couple of the Mass battalions finished. So there's a few more battalions that I need to do. I thought I wanted to do the Green Mountain Boys, but they're actually not present at this battle. They're in the Saratoga campaign, but they're not at Freeman's farm. So I'm not needing to do them right away. But they're going to be next on the agenda, after we get Freeman's farm put together. Let me think. Yeah, I think that's clear on the updates. I also need to put together a little, like a fort. There's going to be a couple of different Bemis Heights, or the other one, I can't remember exactly what the other one was called, but the British have a defensible fort area that they built, and they sally forth some of their grenadiers and their lights, and from that, so I need to build that just in case the Americans ever do push up in that corner of the battlefield, even though it's not really an objective and it's not really anywhere near the objectives. But you never know, what players do, or you have no idea. And then I can repurpose it for when for Bemis Heights, because I think I don't know, it might be the same fort. I don't remember. So where Benedict Arnold gets injured, I'll have to make sure. But I have some Gambian artillery positions in resin, and I'm going to, or I can, make some palisades. I can scratch build some palisades and make that look really good, and then and have fortifications for the British, and that shouldn't be too much of a problem. But I'm not working on those just yet. I want to make sure I get all of the units finished first, unless I decide that I need to take a break and do some terrain building. There is a couple of pieces of terrain I want to build. They're wheat fields. I have a banana fiber doormat that I'm going to cut up into wheat fields. I just haven't done that yet, but I do have that available, ready to go. And other than that, I'm cruising along. I don't know if I'm going to have all this done by the end of the month, but I definitely will have it finished by the end of April, and then we'll move on to something else. But right now, I'm focusing on AWI, trying to get it finished. All right, guys, thank you for coming out and checking out my progress with my 15 millimeter AWI Land of the Free project. If you're interested in figures like this, you can always get them off of my eBay store. And remember, I have a commission I have commissions that I would gladly send you the price list. Just drop me an email and I'll quote you a price on your figures. If you have fantasy figures or World War II figures or whatever you've got, let me know and we'll quote you a price, and I'll get them painted up for you so that you can game with them. All right, guys. Well, thank you for coming out, and I'll catch you in the next one.